statement here, and then we'll get into Joey's question.
Yeah, super excited to get back to work with our guys. Obviously, Saturday and what that entailed. Couldn't be prouder of our stadium. A lot of things went into that day. I know that Rutgers just got announced as a sellout as well. So, put a string of really good crowds here together. I thought our guys, looking at the film after the game, and then on Sunday there was obviously a lot of things we got to get cleaned up. But I do like the way our guys prepared. I like the way they fought. I like the way they stayed in it. Even when some things were against us, defense went out there several times, a bad field position. I thought they played and reacted to that very, very well. I thought offensively, did some good things, especially when the tempo came into play. But more importantly, then some things went against them. We could have converted a couple of those early, especially early in the first half. The one at the end of the half, one to start off the second half. Then obviously when we had the fumble called inside the 20-yard line, that was a huge momentum one. That all four of those are really four potential scoring moments, three for us, one for them, a 28-point swing in a 16-point game. I know the game wasn't maybe viewed in the end as being all that close, but just to show how a couple plays can add up in a hurry. So from a health standpoint, I think our running backs are all going to be good. Really, any of our high rep guys, we haven't practiced them much this week. We did a lot of Debo work yesterday. Today was a lot of twos and threes. We'll practice everybody tomorrow, get them together Friday, and then I'll give them Saturday off, and we'll get a jump on Washington on Sunday. So I thought it was really good news for Hank Beatty to get announced to the Blitnikoff watch list, and then also, you know, the recognition of him as a mid-season by was it Sporting News, which is obviously a really big one. So excited for those guys. Excited for Hank and some of those guys. Obviously, still have a lot of guys up for different awards. I think I'm getting a little bit of good news here in about a half hour, anyways, too. So as much as I always talk about our program, and ironically, I had to say that about the Blitnikoff, and all of a sudden Hank Beatty appears this week. Sometimes you got to be spoken to be heard, right? And I thought that's a really good indicator of it. So we got some good work in this week. Obviously, a very talented Washington team. We'll watch them play this week in a very tough Big Ten game for them as well. So we're taking the best use of this bye week and hopefully converting it into some positives for us next week. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Hey, Brett, you said this was a key week for your staff for adjustments. What's been the focus on both sides of the ball through these first 3 or 4 days?
Well, I think just after week 7, right? There's some guys on both sides of the ball that are playing more than we probably thought maybe going into the year, or maybe some guys that are playing a little bit differently. I think offensively, obviously, we knew we had a good quarterback. We kind of knew our running back room, but the emergence of certain wide receivers have been very apparent. And then also, I think the use of the tight end room. And then obviously, the last 3 or 4 games, the better our O-line played, I think was a really big part of it on defense. Obviously the loss of Xavier Scott after the third game there was a huge thing. So the transition in the back end with all the guys kind of missing some games. Now we are getting a lot healthier back now than we've ever been. So the adjustments there, schematically, some things that we could probably do a little bit different, especially third down defensively. I think offense maximizing our personnel, and then special teams obviously had the one miscue. Obviously Lane Hansen there's a good chance we'll have him back here sooner than later, but obviously the mishap that we had in a punt scenario there was one that we got to avoid going forward. So that's kind of probably what I was talking about more. It's hard to make a lot of changes mid-season about schematics, but more using the things that are going well better and staying away from the things that haven't gone well.
What are you seeing on some of those third downs defensively?
Well, you take the very first series, right? We on defense, we gave up a first down play to convert it a first down, but then we have a really good first down play. I think they gained 2. Second down, if I'm not mistaken, might have been an incomplete pass, but it was a 3rd and 8. Like, you can't ask for a better scenario. The 3rd and 8 on an opening drive, and in my opinion, we did some things in the rush and we did some things in the coverage that are just little details that can be a big thing in the end, and they convert a first down there, but. Then we did make a stop down there and held them to a field goal. Then obviously they started off with the turnover on. We started off offensively with a turnover, which they got the ball in positive field position, which they got a score out of that. So I think growing and understanding our defense, especially the third down stuff, knowing the difference between 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 8. Like our offenses definitely take on personalities that we're going against, and we got to do a better job of defending what they do rather than emphasizing on defense. It's kind of more of take away what they do by how we do things. Offensively, we got to kind of do what we do to expose what they have on the defense side of the ball.
Thank you.
Brett, hope you're doing well this week. Just one quick one for me. You kind of talked in your opening statement about the team's resilience following the loss to Ohio State. What have you seen from the team the last few days, just kind of in this bye week, that makes you feel confident about the second half of the season?
Well, really, even just in the locker room. I mean, there was disappointed eyes, there were disappointed faces, and I expected to see that. Sunday, I saw a few guys in the building, but then I left pretty early Sunday afternoon. I was in 3 states on Sunday, 3 states on Monday. Was in Florida yesterday and got back late last night, so I hadn't been around them a lot. But I thought I'd see some good faces today. They're still hurting a little bit, and obviously they should. To be where we were and be, in my opinion, as close as we could have been in that Ohio State game. To understand why it didn't happen is a really big deal. But I love the way we practiced today. I really put a challenge to our guys to have tomorrow's practice be our best Thursday practice. Yeah, it'll be a little bit different. Usually our Thursdays are a little bit quicker off the field, but tomorrow will be a really good work day. And we'll have everybody out there on the field with us, other than some high rep guys that we just we feel that they'd be better off missing. So I love the demeanor of our crew. Nobody knows this crew better than me. We're a 5-2 football team that took advantage of 5 Saturdays and left 2 in a way that we know we got to get improved on. But we can't just ignore those. We got to understand why we had failure and make sure we don't repeat it.
Thanks, Brett.
Yes.
Brett, obviously you knew you had 7 weeks before the first bye week, so I would imagine the answer to this is yes. But did you have to sit down with your 3 coordinators in terms of freshmen and what to do on that 4-game, threshold long before this bye week to have that in check, or you still have some guys that are kind of like, hey, we need to talk about this?
No, yeah, well, for sure. I take a guy like Andre Lovett is a guy maybe at the beginning of the year we didn't think, necessarily, but then several of my coaches, especially Chris Hurd and Harper, both kind of made reference to how well he was doing on the look teams against us, and then what he's been able to do in kickoff coverage, especially. And so he's a guy that we've probably expanded his role. Grant Bierman, same thing. So it's kind of a little bit of give and take. And then, yeah, there's some guys that are, I had hoped at this point, to be quite honest, that we were going to have some ruling on our eligibility for 5 for 5 and how all that plays out. So I don't think that's going to come anytime soon. So a little bit of that is managing what's left, but there are some guys that we purposely, if we could, because of the depth of their positions, we're going to hold them and play them the last 4 or 5 games. And there's 2 or 3 guys that are in that mode that are getting reps right now. So Aiden Kanopik being one of those guys, a guy that we felt if we could hold him because he was a 2 for 1, that we would do that. And that's the way it's kind of played out.
Coach, do you talk to your guys about what's in front of them, what they can still accomplish? Is that a big part of your message here this week and last week?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we always kind of have that message on Sundays, especially. So I think we always take a big picture look, and then these bye weeks let you do it a little bit later in the week. But I'll meet with them Thursday morning before or after practice, and I'll kind of, give them the lay of the land going into the weekend. Obviously, they're going to watch our game that we got coming up, but we also have 4 other Big Ten games on the horizon. So to kind of have this weekend to watch other people work, I think it's kind of a neat view of it. Obviously, the college football playoff rankings haven't come out yet, so I think we were ranked in the coaches, and we weren't in the AP. So I know those are important. People look at them, the optics, but the important one is what's in front of us, and that's Washington, right? A really good football team. I did see. I think I saw a post or something about they're 5-1 and they're not ranked, or the only SEC or Big Ten team that's 5-1 and not ranked. It's just crazy, right? Like. I know it's been getting a lot of play. Bob, you obviously vote on it, but like it, it's like I looked at us and we got knocked out, and USC's at 15, and I was like, so then I looked at yours, Bob, and obviously you it's at 21. I thought it was interesting. The USC writer, right? They had USC at 19 and us at 18. I mean, we beat them head to head, right? So there's some things there that I just think the college football playoffs, obviously they do it professionally, so it's a great look, but all we have to do is worry about what's in front of us. We can't worry about what other people view on the outside world. We got to worry about us, and I think our group is locked into that pretty good.
Thanks, Coach.
I'm curious about the late bye week. You've talked about this before, but when you go through the list of teams that haven't had a bye yet. It's Kansas and it's Iowa State and it's, teams that conferences have generally pushed around. I'm not trying to get you in trouble here, but like there has always been this certain teams do get a bye after 4 games and then a second bye after 4 games. And if your name is Illinois, sometimes you might not get a bye till October 18th. Do you have any comment on that? I mean, it's crazy. The names of teams that haven't had a bye week are all not historic programs. Is there any way to change that?
I don't know where the little magical computer lives, but I get it, right? Like I knew when this schedule laid out, I actually did like the fact that at least it was broken up a little bit. There's some teams that have already had two, right? And I there's not very many of them, but I would definitely not want to be in that category, right? So ideally, yeah, I think that the college football world is still trying to figure out scheduling. A little bit of the non-conference schedule plays into it, and then I do think there is some randomness to us, but yeah, it is what it is. I really tried to stress that during the summer and our fall preparation that we knew we weren't getting a break until week 8. So we tried to play that to the music as loud as we could to our guys from a recovery standpoint. I will tell you this: like last Tuesday, we set a record for soft tissue recovery. Guys coming back extra, getting cryo chambers, hot cold contrast. I mean, our guys were locked into it, and obviously the fact that we're playing Ohio State factored into it a little bit. But it is what it is. Our schedule is what it is, and we got to play it the way it lays out, just like next year's schedule. We don't really know. We know who we're playing, who's home or away, but we really don't know anything about the schedule. It's just the way college football is now.
And with bye weeks this close together, does it change anything about the season schedule of, I know you do recruiting during the bye weeks and this and
Yeah.
that, and I know you set it out in January what the whole season is going to lay out. Does 2 bye weeks fairly close together change that dynamic for you?
Yeah, we did. Unlike when we've had 2 bye weeks in the past, I'd kind of did the recruiting later in the week. I thought it was important for our guys to I knew after 7 weeks, regardless, when I made the schedule, I didn't know if we were going to win or lose against USC, but I just felt we were going to need a break of some capacity. So I set it up. I let my coaches have a little bit of freedom Sunday. We got in position. I took my 6 assistant coaches and my 3 recruiting assistants, put them on the road. I was on the road on Monday. They were back Tuesday, so they could work with our guys Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then myself, only Art and Pat will go out on the back end of the week here. I'll leave out. I'll be out Thursday, Friday, get back either late Friday night or first thing Saturday morning. We went east this week. We'll go west this week. So I did change it up a little bit, and I want to give my coaches Saturday to kind of take a deep breath too, because they've been going pretty hard. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a moment, but really, how we taper practice and what we do from a workload standpoint is more about how healthy we are, how well we free. I work with Tank a lot on the GPSs to figure out how much we're running guys and how fresh their legs are and how they're feeling.
Thanks.
Brett, would you see from Aiden Lawfrey getting back first time really in a full workload in a couple of weeks? What you notice from him coming back?
Yeah, well, I even gave him Wednesday and Thursday. I said, man, you got fresh legs, and it was we thought he was going to play the week before, kind of even. But Aiden, to his credit, jumped right in there. I thought the very first couple opportunities looked pretty good, and then the way it kind of played out, Caden Fagan had gotten a little bit banged up the week before. So going into that game, we knew he actually didn't even practice the whole week. We thought we'd get him cleared for the game, which is the way it played out. But he got a little bit banged up during the game, and then Khalil obviously on that play where he got picked up. I still don't understand that whole sequence, but that's a whole nother conversation. So those 2 guys getting knocked out to have Aiden in that role was pretty good. So, a couple other guys did a nice job there, and we just kind of had to make do. But I think this past week, or the week we're in now, was a really well-timed bye week from just the way this is all kind of laid out now.
We'll finish with Scott Beatty here.
Which I understand is a question for the end of the year, but there's some numbers to suggest, metrically speaking, that the gap is closing between the best teams and the worst teams, more parity. And I'm wondering if you're sensing that, and that ties into, I think, what you've been asking for is a more level playing field as you're looking at out there in the landscape. If you have time to do that, are you sensing, yeah, we are getting more parity here? Relates maybe to the AP discussion we just had too.
Yeah, I get the question. I understand where Robert was coming from. I think 2 different things here. Like scheduling is, you get it from the conference office, so it only that's the only place you can get an answer from that, right? But like I would say, even going back to the last 12 to 18 months in recruiting, you could just tell that at least the recruiting things were changing, not just high school, but even in the portal world, just as things have become a little bit more even keel there, and you can literally, we're at a point where we're beating some of the opponents that we're beating in recruiting are unmatched any time in my career, right? Like we were beating when I first got here, we would, give high fives around the office if we were pulling out in front of a non-power five school, but we felt we did good, right? And now, I mean, we're literally, there isn't any time that I ever feel like, now certain kids are going to be blinded by 18, 20 years of tradition that they've grown up with. I understand that, but like, it's just in the recruiting world, you can get your hands on anybody, and it's not. The easy thing is to say it's about money. I don't. There's a certain level to that, but I think it's about what you have proven, what you can do. Obviously within our conference already, you've seen some things change in a short amount of time. And then I think the other thing with transition now too, when you see these schools make transition and these schools coming in. Or these coaches coming in are bringing players from their school. That's an element that's never been seen before, right? And now, thankfully, here at Illinois, we are, I think a little bit of a steadiness to us, a little bit of what Josh is all about, what we're about. There's a calmness to Illinois that attracts a lot of the kids, and more than that, I think you can pull off some things that maybe 4 or 5 years ago you couldn't do, and that's exciting. And what we're getting now, to be honest, I'm not going to be oblivious to the fact that we've had, I believe we have a half a dozen Power Five openings now, and those kids, all of those rosters have kids that we've probably recruited. Right. And when we were recruiting them, maybe we weren't all that in a bag of chips. And now we got a little bit of notoriety, and we've had some kids go to the NFL. Like, I was in a place the other day. We've had more DBs than anybody in the country get drafted. Right. And what those guys are doing in the NFL, my history with offensive linemen, what we've been able to do in certain regards in my coaching career, but also, using guys that we've taken out of junior colleges or guys that we've had as transfers that have now done some things. So, there's all kinds of opportunities that I don't think's ever been done. It's a really fun time in college athletics. I get that this week there's been some things happen, that are kind of like, wow, this is really real, right? And that causes you to have pause. But all I can do is worry about what's happening here at Illinois. Our AD and I, Josh and I, literally talk probably almost every day, even when I was on the road, and. Just very happy to be here at Illinois. I believe Rutgers is sold out. That sellout, like what that means. I had so many people. Listen, I needed to pick me up Sunday, Monday, right? And I happened to be in a JUCO, Mississippi, right? And a guy was from Danville, Illinois, that recruited Brad Underwood, if you can believe that. He's a basketball coach. So I was in visiting the football coaches. He's like, Coach, you got 10 minutes? So I went over to the basketball offices and saw a gentleman who's from Danville, Illinois, and just to hear him talk about watching the games right now from where he's at and what, like, it just warms my heart, right? And bump into people. I was able to sneak away today. I had my youngest daughter gave a animal report. She was a kangaroo today at class, and I learned more about a kangaroo last night in her audition and today live than I'd ever known about kangaroos. So I've been in the community a little bit here, and to hear people say things to me that they've never been able to have in the last 15, 20, 25 years, that means a lot. So on the back end of a little bit of disappointment, a little bit of love like that goes a long way.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Colleen,